Hello, welcome to the Knit Song Podcast. My name is Audrey and this is my podcast where I share about my knitting, crocheting, sometimes sewing, sometimes yarn dyeing, sometimes other random crafts. But welcome, this is episode 35. Welcome back to any returning viewers and welcome for the first time to anyone just tuning in. Thanks for spending some of your day with me chatting about yarn and creative things. So I mentioned this is episode 35. It is a beautiful May day in the spring of 2020. So the world is a very interesting place right now. And yeah, I have some cool works in progress to show. Some sewing and boy, some crochet. I think I've got a little bit of everything today. So welcome, and I will get started with, I think, works in progress. Oh, but I should mention, you might have already noticed, I cut my hair since the last podcast. So it's been about, I think, maybe 5 or 6 years since I've had a professional haircut. When we moved from California to Utah, I didn't know any hairdressers in the area, so I just learned to cut my hair thinking I'd find one in time. And then I liked cutting my hair, so it's free and it means I can do it whenever I want and not have to wait for an appointment. So I've been doing that for a while and having fun with it, and it was getting warmer and I just felt like something different would be fun. And so yeah, that was about maybe, since my last podcast, maybe 6 inches or more. That was a lot, but anyway, something light and fresh for summer. So yes, so I guess that is my first finished object, is I finished a haircut. Huzzah! Anyway, I will jump into works in progress, and I mentioned on the last episode that I was going to knit the August hat by Sarah Solomon. Whoop! Almost dropped it. And I began it. I cast it on with what was left of my Legacy Fiber Artz We Think You're Peachy Keen. Matches my shirt today. Pretty good. In DK weight. And then I have a navy blue Hikoo yarns, which is what this is. And I just knew, like I said last episode, I knew that these were meant to be together. I thought they'd be such a nice high contrast. It would be fun to see them in color work. And then I had played around with some patterning that I showed on my last podcast, and then I found this pattern, and I was thinking about it, and then I was watching Legacy Fiber Arts, and Chelsea had cast one on, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that pattern, and so that reminded me, and so I cast on my August hat. And I am excited to show you what I have so far. It's tiny, but I'm super excited because you can see here, this is a Latvian braid, and that's my first one. I've never done a Latvian braid before, and it was really cool to learn a new technique. It's been a while since I've tried something new that I've never done before. A lot of knitting patterns, once you can knit, purl, increase, decrease, cable, and all that stuff, a lot of different patterns are just combinations of those things, and so there are so many techniques, but it's been a while since I've done one that's new to me. So this was super fun. I'll say that I did challenge myself not to use any YouTube tutorials. I love YouTube tutorials, but for some reason, when I saw the written instructions, I think from being home so much and just sheer boredom, or no, I wouldn't say boredom. I'd say desire for a challenge. I wanted to see if I could learn how to do a Latvian braid just by using the written instructions. And I did. So that was great. So I did the braid here, and now I'm just into the first section of the hat, and I've just started the color work here. You can see the inside has some cool stuff, but it's a beautiful pattern that I will show you right now. I think it's going to be the right size. I think it's only in one size, but it looks to be a size that shall fit me. It is, like I said, the August, sorry, hair's doing all kinds of crazy. August Hat by Sarah Solomon. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. Here is a close-up. Oh, I love that. I can't wait. So I am like right there. Yeah, I've barely begun. But there's a couple of the braids and then some color work. So let me show you the cover page. And it's a great free pattern on Ravelry. So yeah. Anyway, having fun with this. I cast this on a couple days ago and then forgot about it, left it down here in the basement, and came back to it yesterday, and I'm mad at myself for leaving it downstairs by itself for a few days. But I'm excited to keep working on that this week. And I also mentioned last podcast how when it starts to warm up, I kind of get in my head about, oh, well, I'm not going to want to wear a hat for another, I don't know, 8 months. Not 8, but probably another 6 months or so. But like I also said last time, it's good to work on it now because then I'll have it when it's actually time and I won't be racing to try and finish it so that I can use it. Anyway, I am going to just keep going and knit what I feel like knitting. That's the fun of it, right? So this is just in a little project bag that I made myself a while ago. And hopefully this will get lots of love and attention this week. So that's not the only knitting project that I have as a work in progress right now. I have my Whitmore Sweater, which the first sleeve is almost done, but it is hardly different from, it's like 6 more inches of knitting on that sleeve, but it's not super different from what I showed you last podcast, so I'm not going to show that this week. I made about 1 inch of progress on my Changing Staircases shawl, but I'm not going to show that because it's not super different from what I showed. And then the same thing with my socks. So hopefully you'll see big progress on those next episode. But yeah, wanted to show the hat. And then I wanted to show a future work in progress that I'm not sure when I'm going to knit and with what I'm going to knit. So my grandmother, before she passed away, like I want to say maybe 10 years ago, I was just starting to knit. I had already been crocheting, and she gave me something so cool. She gave me some vintage knitting patterns that she had, I think, back in the 50s and 60s. And I love vintage stuff. I really appreciate that whole aesthetic. If someone said, what would your favorite era be? I don't even know how I'd pick. I love the 1940s and the 1950s, but I also love the 30s. Yeah. If you're into vintage things, comment below. What would be your favorite decade of the 1900s? If you had to live in one fashion from one of those decades, what would you pick? It's a tricky question. I think if I had to pick, it would probably be the 1950s, but I don't know. Anyway, all that to say, I like vintage stuff. And I was going through those old patterns, and I will show more of them maybe on a future podcast. Let me know below if you'd like that. Because I think I have like 3 booklets worth of them, and then a couple single sheets. Anyway, one of the patterns that she gave me was this Berry Stitch cardigan, Berry Stitch sweater by Namoda. And I can't remember if I've shown this on a previous podcast, so last couple months have been a blur. But I might not have shown this, and I might have shown this. But it's a beautiful kind of cropped, or it's waist length. It's not really cropped, but people wore things at their true waist in a way that now we call cropped, it seems. So call this what you will. And below the elbow sleeves, and then you can see it's got this textured stitch and a nice little collar to it. So I was thinking of knitting this minus the collar because I feel like without the collar it still has a vintage feel to it, but it's not so true vintage that it would be hard for me to wear. So I think that's what I want to do. I did knit a swatch And this is what I have. Well, it's a baby swatch. It's not really a proper swatch, but I wanted to see if I could understand the wording of the pattern, because patterns are, I think, much more explicit today. They're very much section by section. Here's how the pattern's constructed. Here's what you'll need. You're going to start here, and then you're going to do this, and yada, yada, yada. Whereas the patterns back then, for this whole sweater, this is all you get as far as words. So I wanted to see if I could actually even understand some of the shorthand, for lack of a better phrase, I guess, that they used back then. And so far, so good. You can see the little puffs, the little berry stitch, berries in the berry stitch, if you will. And this is just with the Lions brand Fisherman's Wool. And I could knit it out of this. That's one of the few things I do have in stash that I have enough of. But I kind of wanted something different. So I'm tossing around a couple of ideas. I'm thinking of maybe buying some new yarn for this, because I think it would be pretty in a color, not a neutral. I don't know. I honestly don't know what I want this to be. But also, again, in the comments below, if you have an idea for what color you think this would look good in, let me know. I'm thinking like, I don't know, like I think a dark red would look really cool. I just don't know. Leave me your thoughts below if you want to weigh in. But this is definitely going to be something I cast on this summer, I'm thinking. So, yeah. Like I said, it's fun to try and challenge myself to just learn how to do something by reading the instructions, especially when they're super different than how patterns are written now. So yeah. Anyway, second future cast on. Oh, and I did give myself some to show you. So I can show you some. Here's one of the booklets that she had given me. And let me see if I can find a year. It says that the yarn company, Namoda, had yarns since 1817, but that's not the date of this magazine, obviously. 1953. So here we go. You can see Jiffy Knit jackets and stoles. So it's got different jacket patterns and some wraps. Here's the one on the back. I just love seeing the different styles from back then. Which one shall I show you? It'd be a while to flip through all of them. Let me just pick. I kind of love this, and this is super kind of granny-ish, but also the lines are kind of modern if you take off, sorry, it's blowing out the color. If you take off the applique and didn't have this piece, those little additional pieces, and just had it be straight, that could be kind of cool. Then they have the fitted version, so that could be something. If I enjoy knitting the vintage pattern on the other one, that could be something that I do. It's just those pattern stitches, but some of these are really cute. Little cape stole. That's kind of a fun shape. That one I think would be hard to pull off to me. I mean, I love the photo, but I think in actual everyday wearing, I don't know. With all the pom-poms, not sure. Who knows? It's just, the world is full of so many wonderful things to knit, and we'll just have to see what I get to. This is super fancy. You can see a very fashionable little jacket there, and it has some felt sleeves sewn on, some cuffs, and I think it's fully lined. So that involves some sewing as well, I'm thinking. But it's crazy because look, you get these instructions and then like one more half page. Anyway, yeah, those are some vintage patterns that I've been enjoying looking through. I think I'm just gonna stick to the berry stitch pattern first and see how that goes. But I'm excited about trying it out And I think that'll be fun. Sorry, not sure where to put all my stuff. Oh, let's rewind back to the imaginary FO finished object section, because I did finish something this week, but I gave it away to a dear friend of mine. So I do have a finished object, but I only have photos of it. I knit the Bluebird of Happiness, and oh, I can't think of who it's by. I can tell you because it's right here. Another free pattern on Ravelry, which is wonderful. Doesn't say who it's by in the photo that I have. I will put it in the description bar below. And I knit this out of a couple of different scraps that I had, and I can't tell you exactly what scraps they are, but I have a guess. Here's what I have. So you can see I did the body out of a variegated, like a tonal green that I had been given as a mini. I think that was from Christy of Yarn Cafe Creations, who just started another podcast. She has one with Tristan, Girls in the Yarn Cafe, and she is also doing her own one now with social distancing and being hard to get together. So I just watched episode 1 this morning, and Christy is a dear friend, and I really enjoy spending time with her, so that was fun. Anyway, this was from Christy, I think. And then this, the light's hard here. This pinky purple was from Malia Made It. I don't remember the number or the name of the color. And this dark purple was from Seismic Yarns. So I knit the pattern, but then I added the wings to make it look like a hummingbird. And not only hummingbirds have wings, but I just added the wings for fun because I wanted to use more colors to help it look like a hummingbird. But I kind of just made up a little pattern for the wings and then sewed them on. And then to the tail, I just looped around with my darning needle. I just looped around more of the pink color. Here's another picture of the little birdie. And this is a different view. There it is. So anyway, I'm planning on knitting another one because it was so fun. And it's a quick pattern, but I would say maybe from start to finish, it took me 3 hours. So I did like 2 hours one day, an hour another day, and then the finishing touches. But that was my first time with the pattern, so it might not take me as long with the second one. But anyway, that was a finished object. So a little Bluebird of Happiness, but I did it as a hummingbird. And that brings me to crochet. Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm really scatterbrained today. I am jumping here and there with my thoughts. Here is the yarn that I used. And I saw these 3 together and I was like, that just needs to be a hummingbird. I have to make it a hummingbird. So I have enough to make another one and maybe even 2 more, not sure. It barely uses any yarn. It's such a delicate little pattern. Anyway, moving on to my Battenberg blanket. So last time I only had, I think maybe 8 squares, and I have made significant progress on this guy. So here's what I have, and I'm loving this project. I've seen a lot of people that are working on this right now, and they're doing, not all of them, but a lot of the people that I've seen are knitting all the colored squares and then knitting a bunch of the solid squares, and then they're going to assemble them later. Like I've seen people blocking them, which I have not blocked granny squares before. I tend to not block unless it's a sweater. But anyway, I have been doing it where I knit 2 of the colored ones, and then I knit a white one. Crochet 2 of the colored ones, and then crochet a white square, and then I have enough to add it. So if I have, the way I've been going, if I have 2 colored ones and a white one, I can add the next group of 3. So instead of working on it like it's squares, like the pattern suggests, I've kind of just been treating it like it's on the diagonal and just adding them willy-nilly. So But yeah, I don't know if this is going to make it to an actual blanket or if I'm going to love it so much when it's 20 inches by 20 inches that it becomes a pillow cover. I don't know. But yes, lots of fun with this. So yeah, I thought that was fun. Starting to repeat colors, which is nice. I'm shocked, and I know I've said this before, but I'm shocked with so many scrappy projects. They take hardly any yarn, and it's amazing how much, you know, with 120 gram mini, you can add a little bit to the crochet granny stripe. You can do a Battenberg square. You can do a square in a cozy memories blanket. So it sure seems like you can do a lot with just a little bit. Yeah, so that's my Battenberg blanket. I shared these last podcast. These are the fronts of another bag that I want to sew, a project bag. But I've had a hard time. I ordered some cotton batting and it hasn't been able to ship. So I'm trying to be patient and just wait for that. But I'm so excited for it to get here because I have this that I want to turn into a bag. And I guess we're now fully in the sewing segment. Sorry, I am not being very organized. We're moving to sewing. I also played with my Riley Blake Charms pack, and I made this. I'm going to quilt this and turn it into a drawstring project bag. So fun. I love these. This is from the Garden Gnome mini set, and it's like all gardeny gnome themed things. So cute. I have this side done. And then what I did, because charm squares or charm packs, I guess, are 5 inches by 5 inches. Super easy. All I did was I cut them all in half so they'd have like these longer strips, and I thought that would be fun just so you could see more of the patterns, because project bags aren't that big. And so to put, at first I was just going to use the squares as they are to do a maybe 12, I don't know, 14-ish by 15-ish bag, and I was going to see what the actual dimensions are using the squares as they are. But I really liked it better when they were chopped up smaller, because then you just get more variety of them. But look at the cute little bunny, the field of carrots, the little gnomes in their fountains. Anyway, it's really fun. There's a pink one with the bunnies in the field. This one's so adorable too. Just the little gnomes in the garden. Anyway, this has been a lot of fun just to play with all the different fabrics and things. So I'm so eagerly awaiting that cotton batting getting here. Like I mentioned, I didn't enjoy using the polyester type of fusible batting that I bought first. It just was too, like I mentioned before, it just kind of disintegrated in a funny way that I didn't enjoy. So yeah, hopefully when I get my batting I can finish those bags up, and that would be grand. But yeah, that is all I have for sewing. Moving on to, oh, this is a different segment. This is yarn gifts. And a long time ago, sometime I think last year, my mom's best friend, Jo Neal, who is a wonderful artist and a dear person, she had sent me this gorgeous yarn bowl, and I don't know if I've shown it. And I enjoy it so much. I've been having it down here as kind of a display. It's been on the little thing over here, and I'm not using it much. Even though I look at it when I'm sewing, I want to bring it back upstairs so I can actually use it more. But I thought I'd show you first. It's a gorgeous green color. You can loop your yarn through here, and then it's got this nice pattern on the middle, on the inside, and it's a great size. So you can fit a big full skein or cake of yarn in here, a ball or a cake. So I really enjoy that, and I thought it would be fun to show. It even has like a notch here, so if you're using straight needles, you can lay them in here, and I think that's super cool. So I have been enjoying that a lot. And I brought down my little succulents that I've been managing to keep alive. I do not have a green thumb, and I'm working on it. But these three have done well with me for the past 3 months, so we'll see if I can keep them alive. Okay, I have a different segment at the end today. Normally, I am talking about fiber, arts, and yarn or sewing, but since this whole home isolation thing began, and I've got some extra time at home. Of course, different projects have struck me at different times, and I have been so wanting to get my photos organized and get back into scrapbooking, and not in a way that I don't want to do it in a way that's going to overwhelm me. I just want to be more organized and know where things are, have them in an order, and then be able to, when I feel like scrapbooking, pull a certain group of pictures out. So what I've done, like I said, I've had a little bit of time on my hands, is I've gone through all, I think, 5 boxes of photographs that my husband and I have. The ones of him and his family and his high school friends are in a small box by themselves, but all of my photos, my family photos, all of them, I have actually put into chronological order, and I'll explain what I mean by that. Not each photo is in chronological order, but I've grouped them into eras. So to make them easier for me, I did like before I was alive. I did like before my parents were alive. So like pictures of my grandparents and great-grandparents before they had kids. Then I have pictures of when my parents were little. Then I have pictures of the era before I was born. Then I have my baby pictures, toddler pictures, elementary pictures, middle school, high school, college, my wedding, married life, and a couple other different things in there. Anyway, that took days, and I only spent a couple hours at a time, but that was a huge project. So I say that because now I need to make sure that I organize them that way, because half of them are in an accordion file in those different eras. Half of them are just cross-stacked this way because I don't have enough accordion files. So I'm going to use the photo boxes that I have, but I need to create little dividers so that I can keep them in those eras. And that way, the goal is when I feel like sentimental or nostalgic sorry, the light keeps changing in here. It's interesting things are happening outside with the weather. But that way, when I feel nostalgic for like Christmas, of days gone by, I can go back and scrapbook a Christmases of days gone by page. Or if I'm thinking, of my high school friends or whatever, I can pull out high school pictures and scrapbook those. And that way they'll have a place to live in an organized fashion, and then I can just scrapbook as I go. So sorry, that was a big old long explanation. But it feels good to have them all organized, and it feels good to be at the place where I can now pull some out and start scrapbooking. So in order to do that, I wanted to treat myself to some new paper, and look what I got. Sorry, I accidentally tore that off. It's by Park Lane, and it's the Flower Garden stack. I bought this online on joann's.com. I thought it was going to be half this much paper, and I was pleasantly surprised that it is a huge amount of paper. And I will just show you some of the prints in here, and they're very garden-y, and it's a color palette that I like and choose from anyway. So yeah, I'm excited to play with these. I already have a project going with these. Yeah, I'm excited to play with those. And then in the same order, I bought these solid rose golds. It's a matte stack, and I really am excited to, whoa, that one's trippy. Just some rose colored, it's kind of rose goldy, those. those are more gold than rosy. But yeah, just different rose gold shades of 6 by 6 inches. I love that one. It's kind of like just coppery. But yeah, so those are my scrapbooking acquisitions, and I am excited to play with those today and later this week. And then the last creative thing I had to show you is something I've showed you before. I've talked a lot about how much I love bullet journaling and how much it's helped me to be organized in a creative way. And I've also talked about Amanda Rachley, that is the YouTuber that I follow, and I recreate her tutorials. Normally every month I'll follow her. Some months I'll follow somebody different, but I'd say 8 times out of 10 I go with whatever she's designing, because I just love how she does it. But this month, I love what she did, and it's been so fun recreating it. She's really into the game Animal Crossing, which my sister-in-law we were talking on the phone the other day, and she's super into it, and she was saying that I'd love it. So I keep hearing about how fun this game is, so maybe I'll have to jump in. But she used the flowers in the game as her inspiration, and so this is what she created, and this is, like I said, my copy of what she did. But it's so fun. It uses some craft paper and some washi tape I had, and just uses these different flowers, and it's so fun. And it's just a fun way, especially in these days where I feel like time is just flying by in a really weird way. It's fun. This is a fun way for me to make the connection that, like, physically to recognize that time is passing. It's May now. What are you going to get done? Or what do you want to do? And it's been helpful to have this as kind of a reset for the new month. But it's been super duper fun. So yeah, I thought I'd share that. And I highly recommend, if you're even the slightest interested in bullet journaling or art journaling or any type of creative journaling. It was intimidating for me at the beginning. I don't know why blank paper can be so intimidating, whether you're going to write or draw or whatever. I think that the fear of doing something that you don't like sometimes the fear of doing something, putting something down on paper that you don't like, can kind of keep us from putting anything down. Maybe I just struggle with that, but I think I've heard other people say that. But this has really helped me to move past that and to realize that that's kind of a scarcity mindset. There's going to be more paper, there's going to be more ideas, and I can try something, and if I don't like it, I can turn the page. But it's been really helpful for me to just kind of to be able to jump into a creative flow quicker by just doodling and not having it need to be perfect. It's been really good for me, but that can be intimidating at the beginning. But if you're at all interested in it, there are so many YouTubers that have great channels that you can just follow. And I think it's so much fun just to try and doodle stuff. I love drawing. I've never been great at it, but I'm good at copying what I see somewhat. But anyway, if you're at all interested into it, it's so worth it because it's just so much fun. I love it. Yeah. And even this month, I totally messed up a page that I wanted to be my calendar page. So the page after this, I taped it together, but I made a total mistake on the page behind this. So I just got some double stick tape, taped it together, and that page doesn't exist anymore, and then I went on to the right one. So I'm getting more confident with trying things, and if they don't work, then just moving on. So that's been good too. Yeah. So I think that's all of my creative stuff that I have to show. I have some really fun stuff coming up for future podcasts, some possible collaborations and some fun things. And so I'm just feeling very inspired and excited about making stuff in general. And it's been a good couple weeks, I think, to wrap up and do the general kind of how I've been chat. Yeah, I'm super grateful. We've been able to stay home. We've been able to talk a lot with family on the phone and do that. There have been times where this whole thing is just, gets a little crazy. Definitely, I've mentioned before, you know, I'm very careful about how much I check in with the news and how much and where I check in and what facts I read and how much of that I let in, because to me, I'm just not one of those people that can start their day with the news and then just move on. Like if I start with a lot of open-ended questions, my brain is going to try and solve all those questions the rest of the day. So I've been really careful about that, and I think that that's really helped me to not just like, you know, I haven't been putting my head in the sand. I've been, you know, checking in with things, and but I'm careful about when and how often so that I don't feel overwhelmed. Like people talk about, there's your circle of, what is it? Circle of concern is huge, but your actual circle of influence is a lot smaller. So I could spend all day worrying about the things that I can't control, or I could really try and focus on what I can do. So anyway, that's been kind of tricky at times, honestly. And it's, so yeah, so there have been some really fun and cozy moments from all the being at home. And then there's been just times where you just kind of lose patience with all the open-endedness and just, I don't know, there's just been more challenging days and then less challenging days. So yeah, for the most part, been really well. I've heard a lot of podcasters saying this, and it's so true, but having a hobby and having something where you get to be creative and be problem solving all the time, like with knitting or crochet or anything creative like that, that's been so helpful for me, and I'm really grateful for that, because it just gives you that opportunity to do something and to make something and to add something positive to the day, and to use your brain for something that you can control. And it's funny because, I don't know, I just think that that's really fun, and I appreciate being able to have, you know, yarn to knit with, and the online community of people to watch and be inspired by, and all of that has really been a bright spot in this whole thing. So super grateful for that. Yeah, been trying some new recipes, like I mentioned, like I said last time, trying to play the what yummy thing can I make with the random things that I still have before having to go get groceries again, and that's been fun. Gosh, I mentioned our burgers last time because we hadn't had red meat for like 2 months. That was really good. We got some pesto and tortellini, and it's very simple, but it had been a long time since we'd had pesto. And so it's kind of funny how we've simplified in these times. It's making the little things that, I don't know, we kind of took for granted before, so exciting. You know, I used to be able to just run to the store and get whatever. And so now I'm like, oh, we have pesto, and I'm so excited to eat it. So, excuse me, I have a tickle in my throat. But yeah, so that's been fun, trying to play around with things. I've been really enjoying Danny Spees of Clean and Delicious. She does the best recipes, and so many of her recipes have like 3 ingredients, 5 ingredients. So the odds are much higher that you'll have what you need to make stuff. And that's been tons of fun. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's pretty much all I've been up to. I did have some allergy trouble the past week because the before and after pictures of what our yard looked like from one Sunday to the next Sunday was night and day. Like, it was bare branches, still looked like, you know, winter wasn't completely over. I mean, there was no snow, but it was just blank branches. And then the next week, the next following Sunday, I took a picture and it was like green everywhere and blossoms everywhere. And so my throat and everything was just like giving me trouble. So now that that's died down a bit, I think maybe I've just adjusted a little better, or maybe there's less pollen in the air. Who knows? But I'm really grateful that that's feeling a little bit better. So yeah. Gosh, I really haven't been up to much other than that. But that is the creative content that I have worked on and that I can show today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Hopefully you're staying inspired and connected with other people. And yeah, thanks so much for spending some of your time with me today. And thanks for hanging in with my bit of a scatterbrained approach today. But yeah, thanks so much, and I hope you have a great week. Enjoy all you're making, and I will see you next time.